Welcome to this special edition. Yours truly, Coffee with Dragon, yours truly, Coffee with Dragon, yours truly, gonna go overtime. It is 3:56 p.m. in the Hog Island, Montreal, and yours truly gonna begin with gratitude. Grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and gonna send some salutation and some LOVE to those across Montreal Island who are doing that snow removal operations. Cheer them on and do a little bit of cheerleading, some LOVE, some of that loving to the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved doing that butchering and that, of course, flipping off some of those burgers, preparing the food, and those in the daycares who change some of those diapers. Yours truly. Rock and roll for the North American workers of the North American Collective. Let's get that North American Collective Workers Party going for that rock and roll. Financially stressed, financially struggling, but open for business. Yours truly. And then we're going to freestyle a little bit. And I'm going to be I am celebrating, as this is a Dragon versus Trump edition, celebrating 5 years, marking 5 years between February 7th and March 24th, 2020. I had COVID. I was dead right here in this room of St. Temple. I had COVID and I survived it. I always say I don't want to go back to nothing. I'm living carpe diem and every day with hope for tomorrow. So always encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training and exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. You know it is a Dragon versus Trump special edition. I have been and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border ever since the imposition of 10% tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel back in 2018. Joyous content. I'm gonna have some coffee, and my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And about September last year, 2024, I got this table, kind of providential. You see, it has two sides. It's kind of split in the middle. You see here, it's kind of on the two sides. So it kind of be representing of North America, Canada, US. We do indeed need to unite across in the public-private partnership. My citizen integration theory best, and DRT, Detroit fusion theory best, and the democratic fusion theory best, with some loving. And yours truly, of course, is Dragon versus Trump on the Canadian border. Let's build that North American Imperial People's Coliseum, the North American Imperial People's Coliseum. Let's build it via public-private partnership on the Forgotten Goddess Temple, because I credited my surviving COVID to the GODDSS, the goddess. And I credit trillions of kisses on the table. First and foremost, I put kisses and lots of marching steps with it. And you can see one part could be setting up representing Canada. It's got two halves, and kind of they need to be a little bit put together. See, kind of this could be representing the border. And yes, we need to unite. But my Donald Trump, Dragon versus Trump, you need to sign an executive order to mass finance healthcare for all, healthcare mass finance, and put a 10% tax on the millionaire billionaires, 10% tax on the millionaire billionaires, 10%. And yes, Canada unite, Canada and North America, Canada, US unite, but via special Dragon 11 protocols, of which there are 3 executive orders, for one to give healthcare, and one, of course, to raise the minimum wage. Where that raising of the minimum wage, federal wage, and raising, of course, where is that federal order, that executive order for yours truly to rebuild the North American infrastructure, aka the North American ghettos. Why I put first and foremost on the table. Yours truly is kisses, and then some marching steps, and some books, some brains and muscle. And yes, yours truly, this Quebecer Canadian who was born in the USA 3 times past lives. Just read Trois Glass Darkly. Trois Glass Darkly is one of my favorite poems by George Patton, of which, of course, yours truly was born post 1776 3 times in the USA. Once was born a woman, twice a man, and served in the same United States Army 2 wars apart, 156 years apart. Today, on this 24th of February, my initiatives, protocols, and, of course, dictums and call all to the table are for the North American Collective Civilization to implement my vision, which, of course, manifests as the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. And the table is red, and yours truly, you get half and half, 50-50. The Democratic Republican, my pro-labor and liberal revolutionary centrism, is public-private partnership based. My dream, the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, is fundamentally a dream for the North American Union and the Collective, for security, service, and defense only, and solely for security, service, and defense. Marking my surviving COVID independent artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical analyst, and theorist, and mystic, who believes in many past lives, many reincarnations. Just read George Patton, Trois Glass Darkly, encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. Survived COVID 5 years ago, got triple vaccinated, 3 times vaccine, but I always say I died right here in this room off St. Temple. I really died here in this room of September. I'm being reborn. Nothing that I want to go back to, and encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Today, my only stress is financial, although God had Asperger's, so I'm neurodivergent, part of a tiny minority community, and there's still a lot of misunderstandings about the neurological mental divergent condition known as Asperger's, HFA, high functioning autistic, and I gotta live with it. And of course, I've been diagnosed by many people in the past years, but only about 44 months or so I have accepted, and I began to work hard on my characteristics, because suffered, struggled lots, got lots of scars. But here I am on this 24th of February 2020 on the 3+ degree side here in Montreal, Hawk Island, Quebec, Canadian, North American. We got to get to the table and implement my Trinity or theories best. I think we need to create a common passport. We need to do a great North American integrated census of the population to see everybody who's been living here at least since 2020, February, March, since more than 5 years, perhaps 7 years. And of course, to do a great audit. My great audit is kisses I got by the trillions. Kisses I got by the trillions. Kisses I got by the trillions. Credited from the forgotten goddess. As I put here on the table, one part could represent Canada, the other US. We're now going to put on the table, and needs a little bit of paint and just mass finance the public building and public re-infrastructure. And I'm going to be grateful, thankful that I got some coffee. And the coffee is going to be made in the USA, because I'm not boycotting yet, because the tariffs are not in yet, and I don't know what to go on that road. But Mr. President Donald Trump, this Quebec Canadian who was born in the USA 3 times, just read George Patton's Stray Glass Darkly. If you're going to invite us to join, I don't know about that 51st state. I do believe in the North American Union, common passport, common defense, common currency, and common, of course, infrastructure development for electricity and business and pleasure, and business and pleasure, and business is pleasure. And dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is my favorite fitness activity that I believe in. But if you're going to invite us for that 51st state, throw some cheerleading, some pom-poms, some marching dances, some rock and roll across the 50 states. That's how you're going to invite us. Don't invite us with bullying and threats and bullying and threats and bullying and threats. And fight me on the Canadian-US border. Since 2018, I've been challenging Donald Trump to fight me on the Canadian-US border. Before that time, I really stayed out of politics. I was just coming on my depression. And here it is. I'm going to have coffee made in the USA. Made in the USA, as I was born in the USA in past life, previous incarnation, now from Quebec, Canada, United States. See, made in USA, because I'm not boycotting yet. And I got it on special review, so I'm going to put the made in the USA coffee on the table. And I'm going to be putting some of this, also, thank you to my anonymous friend. We're going to put it for the water, hot water. We're going to put the cup. And we're going to put the cup with it. And we're going to sweeten the coffee with made in Canada maple syrup. So you got both Canada and United States. And a little cookie from Mexico, because Mexico is also part of North America. Mexico is also part of the North American Collective. Mexico is also part of the North American Collective. So here it is. Hecho en Mexico, made in Mexico, fabricado Mexica. And we're going to put in the maple. It is a maple syrup candy. Got that maple leaf. And yours truly got that Canada, tied it up. Y'all can't tell me nothing. I got that Canada. See, Canada tied it up. And I don't know when I got it, because I got retrograde amnesia, memory loss. I just remember the past 7, 8, 9 years. And moving from a moldy place. I don't remember when I got it exactly, but what is matter is now, in the past years of many work of my, of course, protocols and initiatives for the North American Collective Civilizational Complex, and of course, encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers. Gotta salute LOV, some rock and roll. For the truckers on the road, for the bakers, for the butchers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the firefighters, those in the warehouses going up and down, chop on the block, those electricians, the plumbers, and the welders, and those construction workers going on steel toes, going up and building some of those more skyscrapers. IT workers, don't hack me. I don't have nothing to hide, and I have no bitcoins whatsoever. No bitcoins whatsoever. And I'm just putting a warning there, because somebody had sent me an email that supposedly I was watching some pornography, and of course it caught my camera. It's possible, technically, of course, the espionage, but got an email, of course, just as a warning to fellow citizens that, of course, I was threatened that blackmail, sexual blackmail, or whatever have you. So you can blackmail me in such a manner. Besides, first and foremost, I don't have any Bitcoin, and Second, I did not watch pornography in more than 3.5 years. You know, not that I object morally, but I also celebrate 3.5 years. Since more than 3.5 years, now more than 44 months that I last watched pornography. I don't object to it. I just stopped watching myself. But anyways, celebrating 5 years, 5 years that I died of COVID. Yours truly. Gonna put down maple leaf, encouraging you to work out, train, exercise. Gonna discuss my protocols in a freestyle manner. So let's start with some coffee. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, dancing is my favorite sport, and gonna put some of this original roast made in the USA, made in Canada, and we're gonna have it with a cookie made in Mexico. So we got that North America. Yours truly from Quebec, Canada, liable, Provence, artist, athlete, philosopher, auctioning everything that you see me wearing. $1 million to give 50% half to my anonymous friend. $1 million and $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million. I'm not sure about that dragon flag that I got 7 years ago, more than 7 years ago when I crossed Canada coast to coast. So of course, the motto of the Dragon Army, calling all to support, pledge your allegiance, legions, is nobody is born a dragon, you become one. Nobody is born a dragon, not even myself with a surname. Took blood, sweat, and tears, and tens of thousands of push-ups, tens of thousands of squats, tens of thousands of hawks, and my own creative workout training program system, which I've created back in November 2019, which I'm proud to have said. And of course, my old boots. I marched more than 3.5 years during COVID with these boots made in Canada, US joint, Canada and United States. They were both made double, trouble joint, Canada, United States. See, they're worn out. I'm auctioning them for $1 million, $1 million, $1 million to give half, 50% to my anonymous friend, or $1 billion. $1 billion, $1 billion. Let's go, Elon Musk, do something good. And of course, I'm going to give some charity and give some charity. Elon Musk, go incognito, millionaires, billionaires, give some charity. And please, Wall Street, millionaires, billionaires, finance the public workers, some of that good massages. I wish I could afford a good massage therapy session. But yours truly, I'm going to take a bath to substitute. Thank you, plumbers, electricians, firefighters, butchers, Hydro-Quebec workers, those now doing the snow removal operations. See, I march more than the generals of NATO combined with these boots. These boots, I march more than the generals combined with these boots during COVID. I march more than the generals of NATO combined in these boots. And of course, I got proof of work because I got videos, hundreds of videos, workout training program system on my Facebook. And workout training is my exercise of choice. Dancing is my favorite fitness activity, and dancing is my favorite sport. But I love to march, and dance and meditate geopolitically. So I got new boots now. Got some new boots. I'm gonna put them on the table. Got some new boots. The same, exactly the same type of boots as the other ones that I had. You know, it's just that these are new and worn. So yours truly auctioning the old, exactly the same. Auctioning these old ones. In these old ones, I marched more than the generals of NATO combined. So I'm auctioning them for $1 billion. $1 million, gonna give half, 50% to my anonymous friend. And these ones, I haven't marched in them yet, so it's probably gonna be tonight, the first day, or if not tomorrow, if not the day after, if not March 1st, maybe March 1st, start March 1st with it. The first boots may be a nice symbolic man for the March, the new boots for March, get it? Rock and roll for March in March, I march in March for the 5 others, butchers, bakers, nurses, and the doctors. That would be a nice rock and roll song. Please keep in mind I'm a financially struggling artist and with Asperger's, so I go into rock and roll trances, because rock and roll is one of my special interests, also known as obsessive interest. You know, people who are neurodivergent like myself, we have special interests, and in those special interests, we're super focused, super dedicated, and of course I can spend hours and hours and hours daily just immersed in geopolitical analysis and studying. Of course, on the menu today is still as a Quebecer, Canadian, North American, is the looming threat of tariffs. No tariffs. A common currency, the UE by my DRT, debt fusion theory. Yes, check in the past videos, blah, 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 blah. I've discussed it in the past. And of course, what I put on the table, first and foremost, kisses, pledge your allegiance, legions. And I got these new ones, probably March 1st is going to be the first March in these. So, auctioning the old ones, there we go. Going to put them on the table. Marching boots, kisses, marching boots. Steel toes, you know I dance in steel toes. Gotta give me some of that good loving for the firefighters and the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the truckers and the firefighters and the doctors and those electricians and the plumbers. Those, of course, going on the rock and roll on the road with some of that good loving and some swinging of those hips. Time for the coffee. You know what time it is. Dragon versus Trump, and yours truly special. Freestyling mode, yours truly encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. Lost between 80 pounds and 93 pounds ever since I got out of being depressed and suicidal. And, you know, I was depressed, I was suicidal. And 7 years ago, I crossed Canada coast to coast, got the tickets. I kept the tickets when I went by bus, 3.5 days to reach there by bus with an anonymous friend, and then came back by train from Montreal to Halifax, 25 hours and 44 minutes. I got those tickets. I'm auctioning the tickets for $1 million to give 50% to my anonymous friend and pay my $10,000 debt. So here we are. Oh, it's sticky, sticky. The maple leaf. The maple leaf syrup, maple leaf. It was the maple leaf candy, right? Canadian made candy. That maple leaf, of course. It was in the shape of a maple leaf, and now it's getting, of course, diluted in the coffee, but it's, of course, maple syrup, but it's thickened and hardened to make it into a candy. You know, that's why it's represented. So gonna have 3 joint, you know, we're gonna have in this coffee, it's both Canada US joint, because I got the maple syrup in the form of the candy, and I got, of course, the coffee was processed and fabricated or converted into instant coffee in the United States, because coffee we do not really grow in North America, but of course we can grow coffee in Mexico. So it doesn't really say the country of origin of the coffee bean, although it should. You know, on coffees I prefer to know where the coffee bean originates, or the cocoa as well, of course, whatever the case may be. So here we go for the Dragon versus Storm. For all my legions, pledge your allegiance to our family. For all my legions, pledge your allegiance to our family. For all my legions, pledge your allegiance to our family. Encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, and working out, training. It's a bit bitter, but still getting a little bit of that sweet taste, because I put a little bit of, maybe a little bit too much of an instant coffee, but that means I'm going to be reading on working out and training and exercising. So encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. So truly have lost between 80 pounds and 93 pounds. Imagine so much work just to lose so much pounds. It's on a fitness journey since 2017 when I crossed Canada coast to coast, and have been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border ever since Trump imposed tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel of 10%, and now the threat of 25% looming. 25% on all goods this time is a major proportional. If you check the economic financial proportionality of the increase in tariffs, it's quite devastating, since, of course, let's be honest, 80% of our exports, of course, is to the US market. So no to the tariffs. And I would have definitely voted Kamala. And of course, I've been challenging Donald Trump. I'm, of course, not a Republican, not a right-wing. I'm a pro-labor and love revolutionary centrism. My centrism is tied hand in hand with my holy trinity of theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, debt fusion theory, and the democratic fusion theory. So encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. And we're going to put some books on the table as well, you know, because it takes some brain, some muscle, and we cannot, of course, base all our interaction in strength, steel-toe boots, military boots. I'm going to marching them a long time, starting maybe March 1st, but it's not all about the money. So invite us probably, you know, this Canadian got that Canada tatted up. Canada says right there, Canada tatted up, that maple leaf. You can't tell me nothing. Rock and roll 24/7 for my fellow Canadians coast to coast. All the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And of course, it's for the North Americans uniting the North American Complementary Collective via my dream. My dream is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, which of course is manifesting integrally with my holy trinity of theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, debt fusion theory, and the DFT, the democratic fusion theory. So that trinity of theories needs to be implemented via love. Love. So Donald Trump administration, invite us properly. If you want to invite us, consider us to be that 51st state. Invite us with some good fanfare, some good spectacle, some good dancing, like the cheerleading of the NFL, please. NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, please reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%, and please, millionaires, finance the public workers, those who pick up the garbage collectors, those who pick up the garbage for the public sanitation, those who pick up the recycling, those who pick up the compost, please finance them a good massage therapy session, you know, because they could use it more than yours truly, although I can use a good massage therapy session, because even last week I marched more than the generals of NATO combined during COVID, and during last year in the beginning of the year, more than the generals of NATO, yours truly, Rainbow Dragon, has marched. And of course, calling all willingly loving to support my Dragon Army initiative, aka the North American Integrated Security and Service Defense Protocols, only and strictly and only and solely for defense, security, and service, and of course for rebirth of the North American Collective, for security, service, and rebirth of the North American Collective, for security, service, and rebirth of the North American Collective, yours truly, androgynous, pansexual, Aspie got at Asperger's, so being neurodivergent sometimes, it's a more difficult situation to interact with people who are neurotypical, because myself being an Aspie, having Asperger's, also known as HFA, it's something which is part of a neurodivergence. It is not a mental illness. It just makes us predisposed to certain special interests, and we are more awkward in the social circumstances. So in the social circumstances, of course, I always have to build bridges of understanding between myself as a neurodivergent and neurotypicals. And I struggled a lot, in employment, chronic unemployment, and I had loved very much the jobs that I had with the elderly during COVID, and of course in steel and other works and employments, working on the compost projects of the ecological compost project in 2018. But it has been a more road with obstacles and struggles and sufferings on my part. I'm financially struggling today, but grateful, thankful, content, happy, working out. I stretched a bit. I did 3 loads of laundry today, lots of laundry since 9 o'clock in the morning. 8:30 in the morning till now after 3 o'clock, of course, was my last load. I even have some clothes I folded and they're there on the bed. So 3 loads. Got to give a shout out to my anonymous friend for providing the washer and the dryer, which was built with brains and muscle, is the washer and the dryer to have it, because before many years I used to go in my neighborhood to go do the laundry and spend money. So it's something which is a privilege. It's a privilege. Civilization is a privilege, Thank you to the firefighters, the butchers, the farmers, the construction workers, and the electricians, the workers of the North American Collective Workers Party. Let's get that North American Collective Workers Party for the North American Canada US Union. And we need the centrism, and we need the public and the private. It's always a constant dance between the public and the private, the individual and the collective. Myself as an individual who's neurodivergent, who lives with this neurodivergent mental psychic condition, which is called Asperger's, and also part of the LGBTQ community as an individual, part of a collective. As many individuals, I got to give some LOVE, some loving, some big hugs, big kisses to my brothers and sisters who are blacks, including my neighbor, who are black men, black women. It's Black History Month. We made it so far together, and sometimes we have, racism and discrimination based on the individual, how we look. Sometimes it's even in the subconscious. We're not fully aware that we have it subconsciously, but we have it. So it's always a process of refinement and to work together, because we are a new emergent civilizational collective in North America. Canada, US, we have a common destiny. We're a new emergent civilizational collective, which is not only divorced from Western civilization, but has distinctions from Western civilization. So that is a pattern. One of my philosophies in parallel to last year in 2023, presenting the thesis, which was called The Privilege of Civilization. The privilege of civilization, it is. Take just the privilege of me having this electric wiring and all the work of the 20th century to build here in Hydro-Quebec, build more than 63 dams, which are not polluting, right? They're clean, zero pollution. It's clean energy. It comes from the hydroelectric dam. So mastering the art, of course, and the science of converting the waterfalls, the water currents into electricity by turbines. It took brains and muscles. So we got to build more hydroelectric dams with that. So no way to the tariffs. 25%, no way. I hope there's going to be an understanding. And I hope, as I invite to the Belvedere Conjurenac, my second home, Belvedere Conjurenac, and the chalet, there's plenty of tables there. We can sit public private partnership with the Belvedere Conjurenac chalet for the banquet of the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. My dream, pledge your allegiance, you are our family. Wherever you are here, local Montreal, Metropolis Island, Hawk Island, Montreal, where we love to spit it on that French, because we're French Quebecers in La Belle Province, So we got to make that compromise, which we made the great linguistic compromise. And of course, to my brothers and sisters who are blacks, I put on the table what I put for everybody else. Kisses I got by the trillions and hugs, and if I don't have money to finance or give to charity at the moment in time, but I wouldn't be reserved. As a matter of fact, I fantasized that when Trump got elected on the 6th, I was a billionaire and I had 44 billion, and I took 10% of that 44 billion, which would have been the equivalent of 4.4 billion. A billion has 9 zeros. I would have went incognito, put a hoodie on, got down and dirty, and would have given 50,000 to men and women, black, white, whatever, veterans and homeless people. And I would have whispered to them, this is my redemption, this is your second chance, this is my redemption, this is your second chance, this is my redemption, this is your second chance. And yes, it's a accreditation that sometimes charity, and there is misuse of funds, misuse of an abuse, misuse and allocation. There is corruption, but that doesn't mean that it's a strictly left or right. Sometimes the answer is in the centrist, and my revolutionary centrism best. But my revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with my trinity of theories, the CIT citizen integration theory, the DRT debt fusion theory, and the DFT, the democratic fusion theory. That trinity of theories has to be implemented by love, LOV as well, because it's, as much as I understand peace through strength, I do not fully support, because you cannot just have peace through strength, as much as I understand it. And in geopolitics, being that I have Asperger's, it is my special interest, so I excel. I'm a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist who has predicted the situation which is occurring now. Back in 2019, I predicted an international conflagration. I got proof of work. I predicted there's going to be a type of World War III scenario, because that's what I do on the daily. Sometimes hours and hours of revising what, of course, different politicians and different agreements between nation states and civilizational collectives and organizations such as the United Nations, such as the BRICS, such as, of course, conflicts that exist in conflicts and from the past. So I do that on the daily, mostly local, Quebec, Canada. When I say local, I usually refer North American centric. When I say local, it's kind of Canada. When I say local, it's kind of Quebec, Montreal, so those distinctions have to be made. But nonetheless, geopolitics is my special interest, and that's what I do on the daily. On the daily, I do geopolitics, special rock and roll, geopolitics, and sports and fitness, while dancing is my favorite sport, So that, as Aspies, people with Asperger's like myself, those special interests we can be super intense, super concentrated, super in it. We're very focused, very intense, when we're involved in those special activities, which, of course, the aforementioned myself, when I discuss geopolitics, I can go on and on and on and go back to the past, go back to the 20th century. 20th century, mostly, primarily, I specialized in the 20th century and the Cold War, but of course it's overlapping in the 21st century, and my prediction was that many nation states, many civilizational regions and nation states and geopolitical regions have not fully resolved their conflicts from the 20th century, and there's going to be an overlap in the 21st century. So that's, of course, what's happening. From the 20th century, those conflicts in the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, and of course potentially Taiwan and China, are conflicts which are not fully resolved from the 20th century. So they have begun, recommenced. That's maybe one of my premises, or one of the common denominators. There were many in-depth analysis on points, but nonetheless, in 2019, October, November, I got proof of work, because I created a workout training program system to go parallel with that potential situation, which of course has commenced during COVID, and myself celebrating 5 years. 5 years since I survived COVID, right here in this room of St. Temple underground. I died. I started feeling sick. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. I know when I say it was like death, pestilence, and disease, it sounds like a hardcore trash metal name of an album for the trash metal rock and roll scene. Of course, my rock and roll is black, white, and rainbow. I just rock and roll. That's it. That's all. But it can be different genres of rock and roll. But when I say death, pestilence, and disease, it sounds more like a trash metal rock and roll song, more hardcore 1980s, type of World War III, nuclear war, thermonuclear war type of rock and roll song. But nonetheless, that's basically how I felt like in this room of St. Domingue. It's kind of, in many ways, I did die. I always say I died during COVID right here in this room of St. Temple. There's nothing that I want to go back to. And, I live pretty with my Asperger's, and I've accepted it, and I'm different. I'm just neurodivergent, and I have to live with it, and I always have to. It's more difficult for us Aspies who have Asperger's for social interactions and things we do not fully comprehend, or to put in practice the norms, societal norms. For example, I give you a concrete example. Aspies, we can approach fellow other citizens in conversation like this close. So the personal space, or we might repeat things 2-3 times. We might have weird mannerisms, or we might look or smell things, or look at things very closely to inspect things of that nature, characteristics which can seem very weird, very odd, very weird and super odd. But that's just Asperger's. It's just because our brains are wired differently. So we might pay attention to some details which for the majority of the population would be like what for. It's just, that's basically how we function, that's basically our functionality. So that is basically how we function in the world, but just we can be pretty direct. With certain questions. We can seem abrasive, direct, or rude, is not because we have an ill volition, out of volition or out of malice, whatever the terminology you might want to use to employ in such manners to as an Aspie who has an Asperger's, but it's just we're neurodivergent, and we don't understand a lot of the social norms. We can do certain things in public which might offend or might cause people to like WATF, like protocols for eating or is societal norms, things like that. It comes more hard, but we have strengths, especially in those special interests. We can master and be really good. And my geopolitics, of course, is my kingdom. Geopolitics is my kingdom, my domain. And of course, I predicted what's happening now across the world back in 2019, and I got proof of work. And since geopolitics and sports and fitness is also my special interest, and dancing is my favorite sport and fitness activity, and rock and roll with that's my holy Aspie special interest trinity, holy trinity of Rainbow Dragon, Adrian Hana Dragon. And of course, predicting that situation back in 2019, of course, and marking today, celebrating surviving COVID. So today's a celebration. I'm marking 5 years since I survived COVID. Nothing that I want to go back to. I just live for today with carpe diem, and with my own Asperger's neurodivergent condition, which of course have accepted to accept and integrate when I discuss with others. And I always, for employment or for business, I'm letting people know, like this fellow citizen who I had some work employments. It was a one-time opportunity. It wasn't much. I made like $50 because I'm financially struggling, open for business and employment. I made like only $11,000 last year, only $11,000 only last. So I barely budgeting, living tough, but nonetheless, I live a very active fitness lifestyle. But this table was also gifted, and it was kind of arising that there was some opportunity, and I let the fellow citizen know, because said, in French Quebecer like myself, so I said, I have a condition which is called Asperger's, and he kind of was aware of what it is, and he said, oh yeah, you're not too good with social cues and social norms, and you do this, you approach people. I know it's a neurodivergent mental condition, and he knew, and he gave me a business opportunity, and a good opportunity. It wasn't much, but it was greatly appreciated. I was able to pay my phone and pay some. I think I paid my phone, bought coffee, bought bacon, and bought some cheese. Yeah, I bought bacon the same night. Bacon, cheese, and eggs, maybe. No, bacon, cheese, wafers, because I love wafers. That's my go-to for desserts, wafers. Anyway, celebrating today, and it's time for me to put some books on the table as well. Let's put some books, auctioning these books. Well, not auction, some I have to give back. And Rainbow's Evolution. This is a diversity, gender, and sexuality in nature and people. An entrancing tale of sexual ambiguity in animals and people. But also the rarest of literary beasts. A science book written from the heart. I started reading it a bit. Me, of course, being androgynous, 50-50, being part of the other gender, if you will, gender, you get that 50-50. I'm consider myself to be both, androgynous, 50-50. Invite us properly, Donald Trump, and the administration, if you will, Canadians, to consider the 51st state invitation. We're going to fight for a Canadian president in the future who's going to give some health care, who's going to build some infrastructure, who's going to balance the public and the private and rebuild the infrastructure and provide some healthcare. And we're not going to deploy Dragon Army. We're not going to deploy only for defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Dragon Army, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. If they want to come train, NATO, come train with me on the mountain. We're on the ball. We're going to go some training XYZ across the mountains. We got plenty of mountains and forest and plenty of space to train NATO allies if they will, blah, blah. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean defense. We're going to play that defense like that. Harbor ball, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens. Please, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, multi-millionaire players and owners, reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9% and give some tickets to the public workers, those who pick up the garbage, the sanitation workers, the garbage collectors, and of course those who work for the garbage collecting, and of course not only the garbage collection but the recycling and the compost. Got 3 services in my neighborhood, so that's super important. First book, Rainbow Evolutions, Rainbow. Let's see what that rock and roll. Ooh, we're gonna read some of these books. Whoop. What happened to the? Gonna put a little live stream. Yours truly. IBM. Whoa, computers in a parallel life. I'm a super scientist. I also have Asperger's in that parallel life, but in that parallel life, I'm a super scientist, design, built supercomputers, ICBM rockets, and supercomputers, and not 24/7. I need to rest a bit, but I build, create satellites connected with the internet, and everything about radio science and technology and physics is my thing. And IBM, computers. Let's see, from what year? 1984. Wow. 1984. Published in 1984. Look at that. Copyright 1984. Wow. So auctioning this one for a million. I'm gonna give 50% to my anonymous friend, and it's got a little bit of information. Some of the basics, the fundamental of just like fitness and working out. Push-ups are old school but still good to go. Push-ups are old school but still good to go. Push-ups are old school but still good to go. And much of the computers, although we evolved and evolution constantly progress, but there's a lot of it that's fundamentally under the same. Whoa, I get a headache by looking at this. No, I love math. Actually, I love math. I love mathematics, but maybe I'm going to start now, learning more computers now. Maybe connect with the God, deity, Thoth, connect with the deity, Thoth, Thoth, connect with the deity, Thoth, the scribes of the pyramids, so scribes of all languages, scribes of all science, scribes of this, scribe, master, scribe of the universe. Bzzz, gonna infuse my head. Bzzz, scribe of the universe. Bzzz, gonna infuse my head. So, writing basic programs, auctioning it, IBM. 1984, wow, so 40 years old. Depending on the month, and this is concern for myself. Asperger's, it deals with Asperger's. So if you want to know about Asperger's a little bit more, but this one I have to ask my anonymous friend if it was to bring it back, or it was a donation, or somebody had donated it, whatever the case may be. But that's what it is with the Asperger's. It's when they may be appropriate. See, it's a thing here with Asperger's. So we tend to interrupt in conversation. But we don't mean to. It's just we tend to speak over other person. It's just how Aspie's conversations, fellow Aspie, sometimes it seems like it's an interruption, and it can be very, very upsetting. When someone is not finished talking, see, Aspies might tend to interrupt. Understand how to identify fictional inappropriate interactions. Learn a routine, such as going to get prepared the table. Routines we have, but the routines which I have for the more than past 7 years are revolved around my trinity of special interests. Geopolitics, being an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and rock and roll. So I rock and roll every day, create new songs on the freestyle as I go, even now. So this is something that's important. Medication, there's no medication because it's not a mental illness, Asperger's is not a mental illness. It cannot be treated. It's not really symptoms, It's just characteristics. It's just that our brains are wired different. So we have certain things we just don't get. It takes an effort for us to be in certain social situations. We might say inappropriate things or do certain movements which seem awkward, or whatever the case may be. So it's just how it is, But it always requires an effort for Aspies like myself to be aware and to manage the characteristics, to manage. Like I said to myself, sometimes you have to be more direct with Aspies, so that we understand. Autism, so Asperger's is HFA, high functioning autism. Also, it's related, but if you want to know more, I guess, but that's something that you can check it out. Asperger's, high functioning autism, or autism if you want to learn more about it. And it's less than 1% of citizens who have Asperger's, so it's not that many. Very few have Asperger's. It's less than 1%, less than half of a percentile. Last statistics was 2015, I believe, 0.44%. 0.44%. So less than half of a percentile, less than 1%. We got illustrated world history. It's a bit old, but she got some cracks. We can, I guess, auctioning it a bit. It's thick, it's heavy, you can even work out with it. The empire in decline. Which empire is this? Oh, he's speaking about the Roman Empire, I guess. Yeah. Gotta check my eyes. Sometimes the vision, you know. I have an appointment. I have many medicals to do. I got plenty of scars, but you know, even on my scars, sometimes I scratch. They get itchy like ants, you know. So I gotta get itchy. So I gotta watch it, you know. Sometimes I have to move my my legs, so I really feel like scratching like crazy. But you see me doing awkward movements, you know. Anyways, Niccolo Machiavelli. Somebody gifted me this. Niccolo Machiavelli. It's about politics, principalities, politics, Republican principalities. I guess I've put some notations in it. I haven't read it in like, I think I read it in a few, more than 4 years ago. More than 4 years ago. I have to revise it, of course. I have to revise a lot of the books. Sometimes I read the same book or the same book over and over, but sometimes you just gotta get on that revision. So let's see, what else do we have? Oh yes, this is delicious. Latin English dictionary. Latin English. Let's see some Latin words. Optimus. Best. For best. Sutor, shoemaker. And what else? Astutus. Artful. From astute. So Latin. Latin. It's a Latin dictionary. English. So it's English, Latin and English and Latin. And it has a comprehensive section on Roman culture. Comprehensive. It's a section on Roman culture, you know. And motto of Montreal, of course, here in Montreal, Hawk Island, it's a big island, metropolis city of 2.5 million people. The motto is, Montrealers, what's the motto of Montreal? What's the motto of Montreal? What's the motto of Montreal? It is, of course, it is Concordia Salus, Concordia Salus, Concordia Salus. It's kind of like well-being through, wellness through harmony, or well-being through harmony. So Latin dictionary, and it's quite an interesting read, you know. I had quite fun to read. And you know, here Quebecers, being a Quebecer, we use the word tabarnak a lot. As a matter of fact, I said, how do I know that I'm a Quebecer? Like last week, I came back home and I was looking for for my keys or something, and I started swearing in French. Esti tabarnak de calice, esti tabarnak de calice, esti tabarnak de calice, and I started laughing and I said, that's how I know that I'm a Quebecer. You know, sometimes I swear in French. Esti tabarnak de calice, vous êtes où? I was speaking about the keys, or couldn't find the keys or whatever. So whatever the case may be, but nonetheless, the word tabarnak is a French. It's a kind of a swear word in Quebec here, and it comes from Latin, from the word tabernaculum, which was kind of the enclosure for the temples, temples. Money changes everything. This is a great book, although financially stressed. If I make $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion, I'm gonna give 50%, half to my anonymous friends. So this is a great book. It's really good, but it's it's like 550 pages, different chapters. I haven't read it in about 3.5 years. I read it during COVID. I think I got it in 2019 it was a gift just before I had COVID, I believe. 2019, I got it for myself, for my own birthday. So it's Money Changes Everything, How Finance Made Civilization Possible. Money changes everything, how finance made civilization possible. Money changes everything, how finance made civilization possible. So if you want to purchase it, because I read it, I'm going to read it one more time. So if you want, I'm going to auction it because I read it, and I'm going to bless it, you know. So auctioning the books here. So, and auctioning everything that I'm wearing. This I wore for more than 7 years. I got it secondhand. This also I got secondhand. I paid $4 for it, for the shirt, and a lot of things I wear are secondhand, bought from the secondhand store, so they were already worn before me. I bought them purchased on $7, $4. So, but I'm auctioning because I'm added value, special. I wore them blessings. So the 1 million for this, 1 million for this, 1 million for the socks, the underwear, to give 50% to my anonymous friend. And this is what it is here. Money changes everything. And she wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any. Gotta put it at the table where the goddess said, and yours knows I want to build. My will to build, construction workers. I put on the table trillions of kisses. washing of the feet, massages, more than blah, 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 to the construction workers who are going to build the 4 buildings that I will to construct. The North American People's Imperial Coliseum, where the first event, sports events, is going to be Dragon versus Trump. And of course, the Forgotten Goddess, or the Goddess Temple Goddess, the Temple of the Goddess of a million, a trillion, a billion names, the GODDESS. I will to build here in North America and the free world, the Goddess Temple, a Goddess Temple, a temple dedicated to the Goddess, the GODDESS. That's part of my dream. Before I go out my dust, I'm a piece of dust, but that's what I will to build. And first I get the plain, the fell's bricks, but the Goddess Temple, GODDESS, the Forgotten Goddess Temple. That's what I will to build. And the pyramid, House of the Dragon, crimson, scarlet, scarlet, crimson, scarlet, crimson, scarlet, crimson, the Pyramid of the Dragon, House of the Dragon, simple, austere, severe, in scarlet, crimson, or shades of red, 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 my favorite color. The pyramid, the House of the Dragon, that's my will to build. And of course, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum and the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community. And I gotta send some love, because we talk a lot about building more buildings, but gotta salute the construction workers on steel toes, rock and roll for them, going up and down those cranes. Let's see what else book we have. Oh, we're gonna go back to some computer basics. Computer basics. Well, time to learn computers. Can always get better, I guess. In a parallel life, I'm good at computers, science and satellites, science, technology, satellites, antennas, satellites, and supercomputers. In a parallel life, I'm a super scientist, paradoxically. In a parallel life, I also have Asperger's. In a parallel life, I'm a super scientist. In a parallel life, I'm a super scientist whose special interest, also known as obsessive interest, is science, technology, physics, and computers, and ICBM rockets, and radios, and of course telecommunication towers, 3G, 4G, 5G, and satellites, satellites. So in a parallel life, I build satellites, computers, and all that good technology, super scientist in a parallel life, and in that parallel life, I built Canada, North America, joined Europe, a super satellite connected, not just myself, but a conglomerate collective of scientists, but blah, blah, nonetheless. So it's kind of cool, So auctioning this book as well. Music by the numbers, a million. Oh, computer chip. This is so cool, eh? The tiny computer chips. Gotta learn no more about that Microsoft Majorana. Come Bill Gates on the mountain, Mount Royal. Bill Gates, my Scorpio brother. Come Majorana me up on the mountain, Belvedere, conjure an act. Gonna ask a billion and a trillion, a million question, 1,001 questions with Bill Gates. Bill Gates, support the dream. That pledge, I know you give it to that pledge. You're gonna go. I'm not gonna waste no cent. It's gonna be for the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, for the public-private partnership, for defense, security, service, and so joy of dancing. Support the DGA. I will the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army. Truly to complement the Dancing Goddess Army, parallel the Dragon Army for security and service. And yours truly, here it is, the microchip. A computer on a chip. Isn't that cool? Super chip. Wow, got the division of labor. Computer basics. Get the basics. What the basics? Back to the land of the computers and the chips and the science. You gotta know, I gotta know how to dance in the snow. Gotta give it for the truckers, gotta give it for those in the daycares who change some of those diapers. Rock and roll is all I know. Like I'm a computer based on that rock and roll. For the music on the told, for those up in the cold, gotta give it, gotta swing those hips, gotta give it, kiss those lips. For Canada, true north, strong and free, but it's not enough strength and freedom, eh? Gotta get some LOVE, gotta have some loving, man. And as much as I understand peace through strength, I do not fully support it to a certain extent, being that I am a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and of course very fully aware of the realities that we North Americans have made collective enemies outside of the sphere of North America and outside of the non-NATO aligned nation states and geopolitical regions, outside of the non-NATO aligned geopolitical regions and nation states and alliances, outside of the non-NORAD, NATO, North Atlantic Organization member states alliance. We have made potential enemies, and we are open for sabotage and espionage. We are open indeed for sabotage and espionage outside of the NATO, non-NATO aligned countries and states. We are open for sabotage and espionage. So very fully aware of that fact. Here is the Canadian Rockies, but you know, peace through strength is not enough. And when I went to Banff in 2017, when I reached Banff, I had a revelation. I was like, wow, 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 wow. I had a revelation and I said, wow. Before that, I was depressed and suicidal, and that event, crossing Canada coast to coast, made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and our family. I consider Quebecers Canadians my family. I consider Quebec Canadians my family, as my brothers and sisters. And you're south of us, the United States of the 50 states. You're south, so in a way, we're gonna unite north and south. We're gonna unite north and south. We're gonna unite north and south. And you know, I don't know about that 51st state. I know the dream, the dancing goddess, and the dragon kingdom being a pro-labor, love, universal revolutionary centrist, a democratic Republican, you know, centrist 50-50. The dream, the public-private partnership dream. Sometimes you got to make compromises and make protocols and initiatives which are in a more centrist manner, and finance for security, service, and defense, and joy via dancing and the rebuilding of the North American infrastructure via my DRT theory, debt fusion theory, which I'm going to discuss as I'm celebrating 5 years. Today, 5 years until March. I'm going to be celebrating 5 years since I survived COVID between February 7th and March 24th, 2020 and 2020. I had COVID and I died during COVID back then. So the Rockies, Great Canadian Rockies, that was such an event. In 2017, in August and September, I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that is what it was. So crossing Canada coast to coast made me, of course, that I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, and I had to live revelation. And I am calling for the implementation of Operation Northern Scorpio, Operation Northern Scorpio, Operation Northern Scorpion, Operation Northern Scorpion. Northern Scorpio, based on my total mobile defense theory or total mobile defense theory system, which I'm not going to overly discuss because it's a matter of national security. So being that is going to be in the public, on the internet, on the YouTube, on the Facebook live stream, I cannot overly discuss my Operation Northern Scorpio, which I'm calling for the implementation across the North American Collective to make a census of the North American, Canada, US based population, create a common passport. In truth, in reality, we do not need the border. We do not need the border, do not need the border. It's more effective for security to focus on the ports and the airports, for security to focus on the ports and the airports, for security to focus on the ports and the airports. And Dragon Army to establish the public-private partnership Dragon Army, and my Dragon Army only to be for security, service, and defense, and not to be ever deployed outside of the North American collective civilizational complex. That's that rock and roll. So yours truly here. They can come train with us here. They want on the island Mount Royal, my second home, from Belvedere, Conjurenac, Montreal at the Belvedere there. Invite all to the banquet of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. And I got $1 somewhere. I'm gonna be able to finance, maybe get some, get something for $1. There we go. Banff. This is Banff. Really nice Banff. And this is the Rockies auctioning it for $1 million. Donald Trump. Since you want to be acquainted with Canada a little bit more, how about a billion, gonna give 50% to my anonymous friend, and gonna give some donations, you know, for my fellow LGBTQ community, and yours truly to get some of the good for the women's sports leagues, for the PVHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, of which the first jersey, when I can afford it, is gonna be that Victoire, you know, that Victory Montreal. And I love the PVHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, and I love hockey generally, but dancing is my favorite sport. But football, boxing, and I got those red gloves. Speaking of those red gloves, I'm gonna be bringing them right in a second. Just gonna hydrate some more. We got one more book. It's gonna be a French book. Whoop! Got the tower, gotta be solid, don't fall. Gotta get that brains and muscle. Firefighters, LOV, firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and those plumbers and the electricians, and those coast to coast, ocean to ocean, in the truckers getting on the road, and those warehouses, that's the toll, the cashiers getting some cash, for those cleaning workers, daycare workers who don't change some of those diapers across this North American collective. Gotta sing and gotta love, and a little bit of, it ain't all about the money, Wall Street, you know that we to eat. Let's go, let's get that dream. The Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom pledge your legions, and the North American Collective Workers Party, the North American Collective Workers Party, the North American Collective Workers Party. This is actually an agenda, but it's French. It says, the season of the birds of North America in French Quebec. It was printed in Quebec. So it's actually an agenda. It's an agenda by Marcel Braquet. Photographie de Jean-Louis Friend, que c'est postal La Prairie au Québec. La Prairie in Quebec. So it's printed even in Quebec. See? So I didn't write on the agenda, but maybe I'm going to start writing in March. March, maybe. So you got birds. It's about birds of North America. Birds of North America. North American birds. So gonna auction it for $1 million. $1 million, $1 million. And you know we got hawks, hawk, H-A-W-K is my totem bird. And that's what it says there. Les oiseaux, les saisons des oiseaux de l'Amérique du Nord. The season of the birds of North America in French. The season of the birds of North America. The season of the birds of North America. So that's what it is with that. So that was the last book, you know. We got to top of that. And what? Got to make sure it's not going to flip. It's not going to flip. You got to build the strong bricks on those cranes. Hey, construction workers, let's build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum together. Let's build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. Let's build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum. And the last thing I'm going to bring to the table is the boxing gloves. I'm going to get those boxing gloves. Created from my anonymous friend. And just before I do, I want to give a little bit of shout out. And this was donated. I got 3 boxes of 6-packs, 3 boxes of 6-packs, 3 boxes of 6-packs. At first, I wasn't going to take them because it says best before date, February 12, 2016 on all the boxes. February 12, 2016. So it's more than 9 years. But the best before date, February 20. And I still got a box. Unopened. So I had 2 boxes already in the past, at the beginning of the year, because I was financially stressed. I said I'm going to make a test just in case of a thermonuclear war. So if we're going to construct those 44 tunnels, let's start constructing those 44 tunnels. Construct those 44 tunnels. The number after 43 before 45 is 44, inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and inspired by the Montreal Underground Village. We need to construct here in North America 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. So this, I'm not getting paid. You see, these were donated as says best before 2016, February 12th. 2016, February 12th. 2016. So these, I wanted to test them if they're still good. So they're really 6-packs. I got 3 like this. And they were all 2016, February 2016 best before. So it's 1 per cup, right? So it's 2 grams per packs. It's instant coffee, but it's decaf. It's decaf. So I wonder if that's what made it. But it still says pure coffee, but it's classic decaf. It still says 100% pure coffee. You just open and pour with hot water or milk. 175 grams per each. So it has 6 in it. So I got 6, 6, and 6 because I got 3 packs. So I drank 2 packs already. I still got 6, basically one unopened pack, which contains 6 little packs in it, individually wrapped packs. So inside this box is 6 individually wrapped. So 1 for each coffee. So best before 2016. So this was still good. I didn't feel sick. I still tasted it, although it's decaf. So amazing that after 9 years, it was still good because it was inside. It was sealed, of course. So I opened the box, and then this was sealed. So it was double sealing in many ways. See, it says best before February 2016 even on the packs. Best before February 16 even on the packs. February 2016 even on the packs is written there. February 12, 2016 best before. So they were still good. So such coffee we can stack with a shelf life of 7+ years in those tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. And sardines with shelf life more than 5 years, more than 7 years, more than 3.5 years, more than 3.5 years, more than 3.5 years, more than 11 years. We can stack coffee, sardines in those 44 tunnels. Because this was, where is this produced? This was produced the Orville, Ohio, 44667 USA, 44667 USA, 44667 USA. The coffee company. So they're not paying me any money. I'm not getting. It's just because I get donations, you know, from a local. First, sometimes they donate with things that are past the best before date or the expiry date. So the best before date is not the same as the expiry date. So this is not the expiry date. It's not EXP. It's best before date. But 9 years after the best before date, it was still good. I didn't get sick myself, but this is as an individual, I took it as citizen responsibility because you have to understand since 2019, I'm kind of in that World War III mode, and it's a possibility for a nuclear war. Let's hope not, but it's time to build the 44 tunnels in North America to stack them in turn, case of a thermonuclear war and build across North America on coast to coast 11 and 11, 11 and 11 with those 44 tunnels. In case of intercepting of ICBM rockets, intercontinental ballistic missiles, we need to be able to intercept it. My protocol, of course, my Operation Northern Scorpio for the ground, and Hawk Operation North American Hawk, HAWK, for the air. I'm not going to overly discuss my total mobile defense theory or the total mobile defense theory system because it's national security sensitive. So that's what it is with that. But so now I bring on the table. Gloves. Thank you, my anonymous friend. For these gloves were donated. I think they have a little bit of wear and tear there. When I hit hard now, it's the little puffy things inside comes out because I used them a lot. They're red, my favorite color. So these will have to be auctioned for a few million. Even a being gonna give 50% half. Let's go, Bill Gates. Whoever wants to build, be for the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, the dream, and I'm gonna box. Get ready for that Dragon versus Trump. Let's go! March 20th, or April 7th. Between March 20th and April 7th. Let's go, Dragon versus Trump between March 7th or March 20th and April 7th, whatever, ASAP. Tomorrow, on the Canadian-US border, me, Dragon versus Trump, lay the first bricks for the North American Union. Dragon versus Trump have been and will challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border ever since the imposition of tariffs. For the first time, 10% of aluminum and steel, and back then, my propositions was, of course, to build a joint rink aluminum built of Canadian aluminum joint, Canadian-US aluminum and steel joint, Canadian aluminum and steel ring for the boxing match of the century, Dragon versus Trump, and let's build together. The North American people's Imperial Coliseum, the North American people's Imperial Coliseum, the North American people's Imperial Coliseum, and the vis-a-vis and 50-50 complementary. The Forgotten Goddess Temple, the Goddess, G-O-D-D-E-S-S, the Goddess Temple. Because I credit my surviving COVID to the Forgotten Goddess. Y'all credit some of those survival on Donald Trump assassination attempt to God. My survival, I'm going to credit it to the Goddess. The G-O-D-D-E-S-S, the Goddess of many names. I say Goddess, you know? That's just my spirituality as a mystic. Want to be Thelemite 93, bury me with Papa Crowley up in Hampton, New Jersey. Bury me with Papa Crowley 93 up in Hampton, New Jersey. Bury me with Papa Crowley up in Hampton, New Jersey. 30 me up in Mount Royal, at the back of the Belvedere, or underneath the Belvedere, conjure knock, underneath the Belvedere, conjure knock, underneath, or in the back of the Belvedere, conjure knock, throw those rocks, big rocks on me. 1/3 of me in Hampton, New Jersey, 1/3 of me at the City of the Pyramids in Cairo. Gonna discuss the DRT. So how much you will auction? I've been having these for 6 years since I started challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match. It's going to be 7 years soon. It's going to be 7 years soon. We're 2025 now. We're already February 24, 2025 now, February 24. So these were gifted by my anonymous friend. I put them to good use. I'm still going to put them to a lot of good use. But I'm auctioning them to give 50% after my anonymous friend, and start putting those first bricks for the North American people's Imperial Coliseum, for the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and for the house pyramid, House of the Dragon, and the Rainbow People's Palace. Here we are, Rainbow People's Palace. So they're going to be balancing out. Oh yeah. Balance, equilibrium, harmony. We got to rock and roll for the DRT, debt refusion theory, before I switch to that French. Because we love that province. DRT, debt refusion theory, stands for D, debt. R, refusion theory is my financial theory. Why do I make the statement that is the only solution for the current public and much of the private financial system, but specifically for the public financial system? And of course, something very similar, not entirely only my DRT theory standing for D for debt, R, refusion T for theory, but something very similar to my DRT theory has to be implemented. So why do I make that statement? Of course, just because, and due to the fact that we pay 46.5 billion on the public debt. 46.5 billion in last year, we paid 46.5 billion on the public debt. 46.5 46.5 billion. Make the equivalency mathematical financial principia is a billion, has 9 zeros, so that's 46,000 million. So in 2020, 2021, the amount was 20.3 billion, 20.3 billion, 20.3 billion double times 2, it's 40.6, 40.6. So 20.3 times 2, it's 40.6. So if you make the calculations, the interest only, debt servicing, aka the interest only on the public debt, has more than doubled from 20.3 billion in 2020, 2021 to 2023, 2024, 46.5 billion. Yes, due to COVID, the Canadian government and the Bank of Canada had to consort, of course, to implement programs and protocols to sustain the population at need, to sustain the population in terms of the lockdowns and the economic, financial, economic, commercial burdens which were placed due to the lockdowns and the unemployment and the opportunities, of course, with not getting a salary. There have to be implemented programs, mostly due to it, but not only due to it. But the fact that the interest only has more than doubled in 3 years, make that in the correlation financial mathematical principle correlated to an individual whose credit cards, myself, I do not own any credit cards. I have a line of credit with the RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, of $10,000 line of credit to the RBC. So my line of credit, of course, is $10,000 and I pay less than 11%. But let's say citizen X, Y, Z, or whatever citizen in 2020, 2021 would have paid $156 on the debt, on his private debt, on the credit cards. And then in 3 years, he would have jumped from 156 to 333, from 156 to 333, from 156 to 333. That is more than double. But of course, if the salary does not double, if the salary only increases by 5, 10, 15%, and the majority of salaries, the average salary increase between 2020 and 2025 for 5 years, from January 2020 to 2025, it was only 4.4%. Only solely 4.4% average in Canada, and pretty much Canada, United States is very equivalent in the standards and protocols for the economic, financial, commercial realms, which we have the equivalencies. So yours truly 4.4%. That means, of course, if the interest doubles while the salary does not double, one has to cut the budget, reduce the spending. So an individual citizen would have to cut Netflix, cut going out to the movies, cut going out to the restaurant, order food, maybe don't drink wine, maybe stop smoking because it's expensive. I don't smoke personally myself, cigarettes, but nonetheless, some people do, and it can be quite pricey, expensive. I don't know what these days. I think it's 13, 14, 15, 16 even dollars for a 20 pack of smokes, 20 pack of cigarettes, And of course, in Canada, cannabis is legal coast to coast. Cannabis is legal coast to coast. And I have some. I haven't smoked. I don't smoke much, very, very, very rarely, but it's legal here in Canada anyways. So maybe reduce smoking cannabis, maybe whatever. We have hashish, which is legal, and whatever the case may be, stuff like that. So you're gonna have to cut the spending. So it's the same mathematical financial principia, and the same as an individual. At the individual level is gonna have to reduce the spending. So whatever the case may be, if it's, of course, goes the interest payments on the credit cards jump from 156 to 333, more than double, because that's what happened with the interest. And only the interest paid on the public debt. And you can check these numbers correlated with the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklin, my cousin Tiff Macklin, and of course, Auntie Chrystia Freeland, but of course, Chrystia Freeland resigned Minister of Finance, but the numbers can be correlated and advocated by my auntie or Chrystia Freeland or Tiff Macklin, my uncle of the Bank of Canada. So it more than doubled. So the fact that it more than doubled, that means 20.3 would have been double 40.6, but it went to 46.5, so more than double. And the GDP of Canada, the gross domestic product of Canada, has not doubled. In fact, it even shrank a bit sometimes, right? Because it goes up and down. So only an average of 2%, 1% increase, 2% increase. So that is the fact. If it would have doubled, yes, but very rarely does GDP of countries double. In only special cases where small populated nation states and countries where the FDI, due to FDI, foreign direct investment and capital flowing in from outside of the countries, that the GDP can double. Of course, if they discover some minerals, some oil, as was the case of the United Arab Emirates or whatever the case may be with Kuwait, and other countries, of course, then it can happen that in a few years the GDP doubles. But otherwise than that, it is very rarely. So that is what it is so that is what we have to do, and that's what we have to be implemented in the correlative. So yours truly, that is what it is with that. So making on the on the principia that it's more than double, more than double. So that is the fact that it's more than double just paying the interest. So keep that in mind, that the fact that the interest only doubled, gonna have to reduce in the public is the same as the private. Paying the interest is the same financial mathematical principle. So what are we gonna cut in the public? The healthcare, the police services, the security services, the prisons, correctional facilities, the infrastructure, the sanitation work, the garbage collection. Gonna cut out the garbage collection, the compost collection, the recycling. Something has to be reduced automatically in the financial mathematical principle. So there's no way out of this in much with the public and parallel to the private. And the public is much where we are now reached record levels of debt, both in the public and the private, and much for Canada, United States. So paradoxically, I put on the table the DRT debt refusion theory, which my debt refusion theory or something very similar has to be implemented ASAP. It's an emergency. For all we know, the public financial system of Canada, there could be a black swan event, and it could collapse tomorrow. It could start. If not, it started today as I'm doing this video now. It's possible by the time that the Wall Street closes 4:30 or tomorrow morning, it's possible that it begins the public financial collapse of Canada, and maybe today, tomorrow it started, after that, or in the next coming days and weeks ahead. So my DRT theory going to explain it now. My DRT theory also includes monetary integration theory. So monetary integration theory, of course, is integrated. Monetary integration theory is, of course, the financial mathematical principium and the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. Monetary integration theory. So monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So my DRT theory, debt refusion theory, includes monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. The Germans, they destroyed the German bank. The French, they destroyed their franc and the lira. The Italians, they no longer have national central banks in Europe. They no longer have national central banks. They do not have national central banks. They have a common central bank, the ECB, European Central Bank, which serves many nation states together and issues the euro. So my DRT theory is, of course, includes monetary integration theory, which is the concordium, the monetary integration theory. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my $10,000 included coast to coast, ocean to ocean, all the debt, public and private debt, we're going to convert it to US dollar. All the debt, public and private debt, we're going to convert it to US dollar, and we're going to add it up with the United States, preferably the implementation of my DRT theory, which includes monetary integration theory, to be done across the North American collective. So Canada, US join, but preferably emergency situation, Canada ASAP, but preferably implemented simultaneously. Canada joined US, just like the establishment of the NHL, National Hockey League, the National NBA, National Basketball Association, which of course are non-national, they're binational in the PVHL. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it to US dollar, add it up with the US dollar. All that money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank, the North American Central Bank, and we're going to issue a new currency. But we're going to convert all the public private debt of Canada into US dollar, and the currency is going to be in circulation in the value of the United States dollar. So this new currency is going to have the same value as the United States dollar. We're going to call the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit, the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit, the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. The Universal Exchange Unit, we're going to have the same value as the United States dollar. With all that money in circulation and what exists in circulation, we're going to be able to mass finance citizens' fitness activity, mass finance the building of those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war, mass finance more construction building of dams, of Hydro-Quebec dams, and mass finance citizens' fitness. We're going to be able to mass finance the rebuilding of the North American infrastructure, to rebuild the bridges, the highways, the aqueducts, rebuild the bridges, the highway, the aqueduct, mass finance the rebuilding of the infrastructure, mass finance the rebuilding of the North American inner urban cities, aka the ghettos. We're going to be able to mass finance tourism, because it did me some good based on the protocol, of course, theoretical paper, which I've written more than 7 years ago after I started writing it, after I came out of my depression when I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017. And of course, my paper theoretical document is called something very academic, intellectual type of principal paper, which kind of was something on the title such as the North American Citizen Integrated Public-Private Partnership Initiative for the mass financing of tourism for the citizen wellness or something of that genre. So we're going to also be able to do a lot of good with that money. Finance citizens, fitness activity, mass building those 44 tunnels, mass rebuilding the infrastructure, finance the building of more hydroelectric dams, finance the construction of the North American People's Imperial Coliseum and the establishment of the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, the North American Integrated Dance League, and the Dragon Army for security, service, and defense, coast to coast, for security, service, and defense, coast to coast, for security and defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and that's part of my dream. The Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, the Dragon's DRT, Death Refusion Theory. DRT, Death Refusion Theory, paradoxically come of me being cursed with Asperger's, having neurological divergent mental condition, having suffered struggle, living with scars. My DRT theory is the only condition and only situational project in terms of the financial situation where we are now with record public and private debt, with record public and private debt, with record public and private debt. My DRT theory, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE. U.universal, E.exchange, U.unit. U.universal, E.exchange, U.unit. The UE, the UE, the UE. U.universal, E.exchange, U.unit. The universal exchange unit, the new currency based on the value of the US dollar. That is the solution. There's no other solution. You can argue all you want, but that is the solution, and that is by putting on the table along with the books, everything that I'm having here. And yours truly, everything gotta go, auctioning everything that I have. 93%. You know, I am grateful, thankful for having this place here. And of course, I moved from a moldy place. I survived COVID here, survived being surprise attack, and I got plenty of scars on my body. And you know, so it's truly marking 5 years since I survived COVID. Celebrating, I guess, 5 years since I survived COVID. And the song is Pledge Your Allegiance, Legions, thou our family. Gonna sing some rock and roll song and switch it to that French because we love Belle Province. Ready for some rock and roll? Ready or not for some rock and roll? Knock, knock, knock for some loving. That's what we got. For the truckers and the butchers and the bakers, gotta give it some of those swings. Let me see what you dance with it. Shake those hips. You know, Rainbow Dragon got a kisses. Kisses from the goddess. Gotta lick and shake those hips, sir. From the Canada, true, north, strong, and free. From Quebec, Montreal, we go all the way to that coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, all the way to Nova Scotia. Gotta give me some baking, gotta give me some cooking, gotta give me some coffee. You know, that I flavor it with that maple syrup. That's a lit. Maple syrup, that's a done deal. Maple syrup, that's a done sweeted. Sweeted for the melody. Sweeted got grains. Got the planes and got the lanes. Got those firefighters and the truckers. Got ready to plane on the planes. You know that we pass by Ontario all the way to Saskatchewan. We gotta go all the way to Alberta. All the way to Columbia. Got the territories up in the north. And got down south for the 50 states. You know I sing it. Got along in North Americans. We gotta unite that north and south. On the table round about. On the table round about. On the table right about apple kisses from the goddess, invite us properly. Donald Trump, you know, you see, you gotta invite us properly with some feast and cheerleading up on the 50 states. Invite Canadians to visit the 50 states. Invite Canadians and finance, because you a billionaires. Finance Canadians to go across the 50 states and vice versa, public-private partnership, the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon king, the mass finance tourism, Canada, United States. Let's get that North American Collective Workers' Party, create a common passport, common currency, public-private partnership, centrism, best for defense, security, and service, centrism, best. It's not all about strength, the true north, strong and free, the home in the land of the free and the home of the brave. My brothers and sisters in the south of me, in the true north, strong and free, strength and freedom and bravery, and strength is not enough. You gotta add some L-O-V-E in it. And now we're gonna love some French because we la belle province. Et voilà, bienvenue dans la grotte du dragon arc-en-ciel. Je viens d'en composer une chanson, mais je vais commencer avec la gratitude, comme toujours avec la gratitude. J'ai payé mon loyer, ma facture d'électricité, puis je marque, célèbre la victoire. J'ai eu la COVID en 2020, entre le 7 février 2020 et 24 mars 2020, ici dans la grotte de votre dragon arc-en-ciel. Puis je viens de présenter la table. Je l'ai dit bien sûr que je l'ai en septembre, quand j'ai eu une petite opportunité, bien sûr, pour avoir la table qui m'a été donnée en don. Puis c'est quelque chose d'intéressant, que ça a été donné en septembre. Puis ça a deux parties. Fait que ça peut comme représenter le Canada puis les États-Unis, maintenant qu'on est bien sûr dans une situation quand même de crise, puis on va s'en sortir. Puis bien sûr, je sais bien que ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça va bien pour faire l'implémentation pour la création de l'unité universelle, d'échange universel, puis qu'on va faire un compromis, puis on va faire une union, bien sûr, parallèlement à l'Union européenne. Bien sûr, c'est quelque chose que je soutiens dans le fait d'avoir un peu de justice, puis avec l'implémentation de ma théorie en tant que Québécois, Canadien, Nord-Américain, bien sûr, pour la défense, la sécurité et le service de côte à côte, en vous encourageant de faire l'exercice. Je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. Puis je célèbre 5 ans depuis que j'ai eu la COVID, même sûr, mais que j'ai survécu la COVID, ici dans cette grotte de dragon arc-en-ciel. C'est quand même une petite grotte temple du dragon. Puis mon office, mon bureau, je veux dire, où je compose mes théories, puis je fais de l'analyse en géopolitique, puis bien sûr où je danse, parce que la danse est mon sport préféré. La danse est l'entraînement que je préfère le plus, avec les marches, et puis bien sûr les bottes, que j'ai dit que j'ai marché dans ces bottes-là, plus que les généraux de l'OTAN combinés durant la COVID. Puis je marque que je célèbre 5 ans en 2020, entre le 7 février et le 24 mars. J'ai eu la COVID, je me suis fait vacciner 3 fois dans le même bras, puis bien sûr, c'est quelque chose que je dois vous encourager à faire l'entraînement physique. Ça fait du bien pour la morale, puis ça fait du bien avec la gratitude. C'est quelque chose qui va en parallèle, en danse ensemble. La gratitude, je trouve que c'est quelque chose d'avoir pour avoir une joie puis pour avoir une santé, parce que la civilisation, c'est un privilège. Je dois toujours remercier les pompiers, les ambulanciers, puis ceux qui travaillent dans l'environnement, puis ceux qui travaillent à l'Hydro-Québec. L'Hydro-Québec, Hydro-Québec, je chante, je vous donne des becs, je chante, je vous donne des becs. L'Hydro-Québec, il faut bâtir la centrale, il faut bâtir des gratte-ciels, il faut rebâtir la renaissance après la COVID, la relance, l'Amérique du Nord. Je pense qu'on va s'en sortir, puis bien sûr que c'est quand même quelque chose qui s'approche en tant qu'analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. Le mois de mars s'en vient. Puis bien sûr, les tarifs, il faut faire de tout possible pour ne pas avoir ces tarifs de 25%, c'est quand même un quart. Sur chaque dollar, c'est 25 cents du dollar. Là, c'est 25 dollars pour chaque 100 dollars. Fait que c'est quand même un quart. Fait qu'il faut dire que 25%, sur tous les biens cette fois-ci, du Québec, du Canada, avoir ces gros tarifs, parce qu'on ne veut pas, bien sûr, on dépend, hein, les exportations, 80, plus que 80%, fait que plus que 4 cinquièmes, plus que 8 dixièmes, plus que 8 dollars sur 10, 80, plus que 90, 80 correction, 80%, plus que 80%, plus que 8 sur 10 de nos dollars d'exportation du Québec, du Canada s'en vont vers les États-Unis. Fait que c'est sûr qu'il y a une proportion avec la population aussi, parce que nous, on est 9 millions de Québécois avec 31 millions de Canadiens, donc ensemble, les Québécois et Canadiens, on forme 40 millions, puis aux États-Unis, ils sont plus que 333 millions, donc on se rajoute à être ensemble pour une union de faire plus que 380 millions. Puis moi, je suis bien sûr, je pense qu'investir dans la frontière, c'est quelque chose de pas si productif que ça. Il faut que notre sécurité, bien sûr, en tant qu'analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, il faut qu'on se concentre sur les ports et les aéroports de l'Amérique du Nord, sur les ports et les aéroports de l'Amérique du Nord, sur les ports et les aéroports et les ports. C'est plus qu'on a investi plus qu'1 milliard dans la frontière, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut qu'on rêve pour investir de côte à côte. Puis je suis pour la création d'un passeport commun, pour la création d'une unité d'échange commune, puis moi je défendrai quand même la langue du Québec, la culture du Québec, parce que je suis moi-même québécois, canadien, nord-américain, bien sûr, comme je montrais tantôt, j'ai mon tatouage du Canada, Canada ici sur le bras, Canada, 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 puis avec la fraternité, ça danse ensemble, puis on peut bien faire la danse avec les étoiles ensemble, mais comme dit à Donald Trump, je ne soutiens pas Trump, pas du tout, mais bien sûr, je dis, ben c'est pas une manière de nous inviter avec du bullying, là, puis avec du poussage, puis avec des menaces, là, c'est pas la manière d'inviter les Québécois canadiens, les Canadiens québécois pour les inviter à devenir un 5e État. Pas de même qu'on va nous faire. Invitez-nous, M. Trump, d'une manière avec la danse, en nous envoyant, puis qu'on visite les 50 États, puis avec de la danse, puis avec, bien sûr, qu'on appelle dans la création culturelle les marching dance bands, là, avec les trompettes. Avec les trompettes, la musique et puis la danse, une invitation avec la musique puis la danse, pas avec des menaces de 25% de tarifs, voyons donc. Pas comme ça, vous allez manger avec du miel, voyons donc. Les Louis Cyr va descendre puis va donner un coup de grâce à Donald Trump. Louis Cyr! Louis Cyr va s'en venir, je pense qu'il y a bien des Louis Cyr à travers le Québec. Là. Fait on n'a pas besoin, parce qu'on ne peut pas se baser tout sur la force. Hein. Il faut qu'on ait un peu d'amour. Si on n'a pas d'amour, on va se baser sur la force et la violence. Il faut avoir d'autres choses pour se baser. Puis je comprends bien sûr la doctrine et l'idéologie de la paix par la force, mais c'est pas assez. Hein? C'est pas assez. Hein? C'est pas une équation qui est complète. Il faut qu'on rajoute quelque chose de l'amour, la compréhension, puis le bien-être, puis la bonté. Là, parce qu'on ne peut pas se baser sur la force. Il faut avoir d'autres idéologies, puis d'autres complémentaires. Tu sais, je veux dire complémentaires que ça balance. Parce que, puis je la comprends, parce que c'est vrai qu'on vit dans un monde qui a changé d'une manière plus de la sécurité. Puis c'est vrai qu'on a des ennemis. On a des ennemis d'ailleurs. dans travers le collectif, qui ne sont pas du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, puis qui sont des civilisations, des nations, pays, États qui sont potentiellement devenus des ennemis pour pouvoir nous faire du sabotage ou pour vouloir nous faire du mal, qui ne sont pas alignés avec l'OTAN, qui ne sont pas des pays, nations énormes ou des régions géopolitiques qui ne sont pas alignés avec l'OTAN, l'Alliance de l'OTAN ou même sûr dans le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. En tant qu'analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, je suis bien sûr quelqu'un qui, je répète, j'ai prévu la situation actuelle en 2019 parce que je fais des analyses de géopolitique au quotidien. Puis en marquant, en célébrant 5 ans que j'ai survécu la COVID aujourd'hui, c'est toujours que je retourne dans ce travail que je fais au quotidien puis dans le passé, que j'ai écrit bien des documents, puis bien des protocoles, puis des initiatives. Mais il faut tenir compte, quand je dis, je fais appel à tous de soutenir mon rêve, c'est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé. Mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, c'est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé. Puis sur la table, premièrement, je mets des milliards de bisous avec des chatouilles, puis de la danse, puis des marches aussi, puis mes initiatives pour la défense, puis mes philosophies, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, la théorie d'intégration citoyenne, puis la théorie de la fusion démocratique, pour la création de 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé complémentaires. L'armée de la déesse qui danse, soit la Ligue de danse intégrée de l'Amérique du Nord, parallèlement avec l'armée du dragon, pour l'armée de la défense ou les forces pour le service, pour la sécurité et la défense intégrées avec les autres forces de sécurité et de défense qui existent depuis le 20e siècle, pour le 21e siècle. Puis pour la sécurité et la défense de côte à côte. Puis faire l'implémentation de mon opération le Scorpion du Nord, que je ne discuterai pas bien sûr trop de cette théorie de la défense totale mobile, parce que bien sûr c'est la question de la sécurité nationale, puis vu que je mets ça en ligne publique, je ne vais pas en discuter trop en détail, ma théorie en tant qu'analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, la théorie de la défense mobile totale, c'est quelque chose que je dois discuter bien sûr avec d'autres gens, bien sûr, qui sont bien sûr au sommet, que je fais appel pour qu'on fasse un Canada, États-Unis, qu'on fasse un recensement, qu'on fasse Canada, États-Unis, un recensement, voir tous les gens qui habitent ici depuis au moins 5 ans, on va dire depuis que moi j'ai survécu la COVID, depuis février 2020, ou depuis que j'ai traversé le Canada en 2017, moi ça fait des années, j'habite ici à la même place, mais plus que 7, 8 ans, 9 ans, peut-être déjà, mais que j'habite ici, bien sûr, depuis bien des années, puis bien sûr, avec ma condition de neurodivergence, l'Asperger, ça a été un petit peu difficile, même aujourd'hui, je vis une crise financière, tu sais, c'est cette condition de neurodivergence qui m'a empêché, qui m'a mis des obstacles d'avoir un emploi à long terme, c'est quelque chose, j'ai toujours perdu de l'emploi, mais on est bon dans nos... Qu'est-ce qu'on appelle les intérêts obsessifs, soit les intérêts spéciaux. C'est pas vraiment des intérêts obsessifs, puis c'est pour ça que je peux passer des heures là, par jour à faire l'analyse en géopolitique, puis l'analyse intense, puis révision. Puis on peut être les Aspergers, on peut être très intense, très dedans, très concentré quand on discute, puis quand on analyse, on fait des analyses où on travaille dans les intérêts obsessifs, aussi appelés comme les intérêts spéciaux. Je n'utilise pas obsessif, parce qu'obsessif, c'est plutôt négatif, tu sais. Car pour moi, en tant qu'autiste hautement fonctionnel, aussi connu comme Aspi, j'ai l'Asperger, c'est très intense la géopolitique. Quand je travaille, je fais des analyses. Des fois, je passe des heures. Aujourd'hui, je viens faire mon lavage, 3 lavages, ça a pris comme 6 heures. Puis je faisais des analyses de la révision géopolitique du matin. Puis jusqu'à après-midi, je bois du café, je fais de manger. Des fois, j'oublie de manger, je commence à avoir faim, tellement je suis dedans. Puis je dis, waouh, je viens de passer, je fais le lavage. Puis je fais des révisions géopolitiques, je fais des analyses, puis je fais des révisions depuis du passé. Bien sûr que mon analyse, en 2019, je reviens à mon analyse d'octobre-novembre 2019, quand j'avais prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale, qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant dans le monde, je l'ai prévu d'une manière générale, basé sur plusieurs niveaux d'interprétation, puis bien sûr des analyses plus en détail, mais d'une manière générale, j'avais prévu que dû au fait que bien des régions, des nations, pays, des civilisations n'ont pas été capables de résoudre leurs conflits du 20e siècle, qui vont reprendre ces conflits-là dans ces civilisations, ces nations, ces pays, ces nations, États, ces pays, ces nations, ces régions géopolitiques qui vont reprendre dans le 21e siècle. C'est ça qui est arrivé dernièrement de la COVID. C'est potentiel un autre conflit sur l'horizon. La Chine et le Taïwan, c'est encore un conflit qui n'a pas été résolu du 20e siècle. Je dis souvent ici au Québec, en Amérique du Nord, on a fait des grands compromis, bien sûr, sur le français, bien sûr. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle en tant que philosophe, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique du français, mais ça prend aussi l'individu. Moi, en tant qu'individu avec l'Asperger's, bien sûr, je suis un individu dans un collectif d'une petite minorité de moins d'1%, moins de 0,5%, 0,44%, des gens qui sont neurodivergents. Fait que je suis un individu québécois, canadien, nord-américain, dans l'Américain, Canadien, Québécois, qui vit avec cette situation de neurodivergence. Fait que je dois toujours bâtir des ponts avec ceux qui sont neurotypiques. Fait que je dois faire cet effort, mais comme qu'on doit faire aussi, en tant qu'individu pour le Québec, pour le français, on doit faire un effort individuel aussi, puis une manière aussi, tu sais, de faire l'appréciation du français. Tu sais, des fois, il faut avoir une certaine tactique pour l'amour, puis être bien sûr dans cette comparaison d'avoir ce point de divergence, Ça fait que je dois toujours faire... Oh, je pense qu'il y a quelqu'un. Ok. Ce sera pas maintenant, ça sera...
Somebody already put it by the garage door.
Nice.
So they did pick up. So that means they're gonna come. What is it, about twice with the bin? Can you move your shoes over there so there's space for mine and you should always do that, okay? I brought you a bagel. They gave us fresh bagels.
Nice bagels.
Go to the bathroom badly first.
I'm gonna take out the garbage.
Yeah. Can I talk or you need to laugh? Can I talk? If you need to go, you can go because tomorrow's going to be another way. But it's raining, okay?
Ça sera pas bien long, ça sera pas bien long.